Good morning, Reynolds. Huge, strong, well-groomed 37-year-old man, having just slept the sleep of the writers, opens his eyes with difficulty and yawns sweetly. He looks in surprise at the crowd of people crowded in bedroom, at his poor wife. Sleep disappears as if by hand. He slowly goes to the bathroom and brushes his teeth. Then he dresses, as always, carefully. He takes out a snow-white shirt from the closet and carefully ties his tie. An expensive suit that perfectly fits his powerful torso, a fluffy, fashionable mustache, and dark glasses with massive frames make him impeccably elegant. "Gentlemen are at your service," he says politely, putting on his coat. One of the gentlemen who addressed Reynolds with this morning greeting wears a frank, happy smile. He had been waiting for this morning for 5 long years. He forgot what peace was, forgot when he slept as sweetly as this handsome man who had just woken up. According to police chroniclers, Tommy Butler, one of the Scotland Yard's most diligent and experienced detectives, that exactly this way arrested Bruce Reynolds last Friday. This name was once familiar to every Englishman. As the years passed, people began to forget it. And now it burst on the newspaper pages again, for a few days crowding out all other names. A big name of participant in a scandalous story that became a classic criminology. On 8th of August 1963, red traffic light at dawn stopped post train at Cheddington Bridge. Traveling from Glasgow to London. A group of businesslike, taciturn people, equipped not only with weapons but also with high-speed trucks, robbed the train for 40 minutes, after which it lost weight by £2,600,000 sterling, over $7 million at the then exchange rate. In England and throughout the world, a cry of amazement was heard. Both the scale of the robbery and its brilliant execution were astonishing. Accurate information which the raiders had about the train, the contents, the mail carriage, and their security, not without wit, they themselves triggered a red traffic light, a clear operation to shake out bags of money, and most importantly, as if millions had fallen through the ground. Quiet, voluminous in terms of the amount of paper. They said that the British police would have to deal with a qualified public. The grey train robbery. Crime of the century, the newspapers unanimously dubbed this story. Scotland Yard was knocked off its feet. The search for the robbers took on unprecedented proportions. Many thousands of people joined it. At the end of September, 14 participants in the robbery were arrested. Most of them turned out to be middle-aged people, but of different professions, suitable for the development of a multifaceted operation. The thirst for unheard of profit united them all. 7 were sentenced to 30 years in prison. Others got a little less. The judges were seething with indignation. The scale of the robbery, they explained, the severity of the sentence went beyond the bounds of decency. Two later escaped from prison. One was caught in Canada. 4 years later, Tommy Butler, who led the search, flew there specifically. The other got away. Nothing is still known about him. That would be nothing. Ridicule rained down on Scotland Yard from all sides for something else. Millions are missing. Only £300,000 were found. 2,300,000 disappeared without a trace. Where to look for traces? Of whose hands this money in? Nobody could give an answer. It was only clear that millions were intact, that someone was managing them. When rumors came to Scotland Yard that a raid was being prepared on the prison in Durham, where some of the robbers were being held, that their friends were going to rescue them, using, as the local police chief warned, grenades and even tanks, there was a commotion. The prisoners were immediately transferred to another prison, placing all approach to it under strict control. Scotland Yard knows the power of millions. There was only one last hope left. Butler found out that not 14 but 13 people took part in the operation with mail train, that the last, elusive one, is perhaps the most important among them, and he has the keys to millions. His name was Bruce Reynolds, and his occupation was an antique dealer. At that time he was 32 years old. He had a beautiful wife and a 3-year-old son. The hunt has begun. For 57-year-old Butler, a gloomy man who has risen from a simple policeman to one of the leaders of Scotland Yard, about whom they say that he has nothing in life except his old mother and work, he fell ill with Reynolds. He dreamed about him at night. Butler peered more closely than usual at people on the street, went into shops and looked into buses. He worked 14-16 hours a day. All these years he also devoted his summer vacation to searching for. One day a message came that Reynolds was hiding in the south of France. Butler immediately went there. He spends his days wandering along the beaches, looking through binoculars at boats gliding along the shore. It was known that Reynolds had a special passion for them and cars. Another time, Butler was informed that the route was leading to Tangier. He rushed there too. There were also signals that Reynolds was seen in Hamburg and Cyprus, Rio de Janeiro and Ireland. How Butler eventually spotted his victim is still unknown. An investigation is underway. Reynolds is being interrogated, and of course not everything is being reported in the press. There is a guess that fleeting meeting with an old friend in a London pub in Chelsea ruined him. It was here that Reynolds was allegedly tracked down. For Butler, it was more than just a luck. Back in July 1967, the deadline for his resignation came. He asked to extend his service for a year and a half, vowing that during this time he would bring the matter to an end. He had 1 month left. There is only talk about Tommy Butler in England now. He is praised, he is urged not to resign. The British have always yearned for the real Sherlock Holmes. The literary hero of Conan Doyle entered their life. Much now, of course, is exaggerated. In hindsight, much is embellished. But Butler, who is said to be extremely renowned at being the victim of the advertising hype, really knows his stuff. He finally cornered Reynolds. He learned that in September, in the seaside town of Turkey, on the English Riviera, the family of a successful businessman named Hatton rented a snow-white villa. The head of the family, a huge, friendly man, usually not inclined to long conversations and always late for something, often left for London in his blue and white Wolseley. His charming wife, who had become everyone's favorite in Turkey, went visiting guests and shopping in a brand new red and black Mini. She sang everywhere. The 8-year-old son, along with the neighboring children, was taken to a high-paid, very respectable school. The couple went to receptions and spent time in restaurants with friends from the crème de la crème of local society. They looked carefree, did not hesitate to spend, and gave the impression of people with considerable means. This was very important. Pounds in such towns especially add weight to people. What a nice couple! What a charm these Hattons are! They heard all around. If someone had said that Mr. Hatton was a robber, the slanderer would have been scouted. It's a shame. He is so decent, so respectable. Respectable and decent because he had money. Hatton, a little later, probably would have been nominated for mayor, and maybe somewhere else. He didn't have enough time. Butler was in a hurry. The final scene from the government inspector could well have been set in Turkey on the morning the town learned who lived in mansion by the sea. It can't be. Oh, no, no. Just imagine. What a horror. Reynolds, as he was driving through the sleepy streets of the seaside town at this early hour, smiled. He must have vividly imagined the expressions on the faces of his friends yesterday. Once behind bars, Reynolds, as told, have immediately taken a £5 note from his pocket and asked one of the policemen to run to shop for a dozen of the most expensive cigars. After that, they brought him chicken and a salad for lunch from the restaurant. Despite all of Butler's successes, the scene from the government inspector did not make Scotland Yard very happy. Word has leaked that Reynolds' arrest has added nothing to the search for the missing millions. November of 1968. The chapter from the book Britain, Great and Little. Author Vitaly Kobysh.